Hello. Hi, everyone. I am here. I am Coach Kayla, and I am here with Laura. Laura is one of my past clients that I worked with, and she's going to talk all about her experience and what she learned and all of that. So, Laura, tell us who you are, why you came to me to work together, and we'll start there.
Okay, my name is Laura and I live in Western Massachusetts. Been vegetarian, well, I've been plant-based for probably 28 years and vegan for the last 12 or 13 years. I'm currently a runner, have been a runner for a while. And I came to you because I was looking for a little help with some various food issues, specifically some issues with sugar and kind of like my junk food vegan tendencies. And it's really easy to be an unhealthy vegan. Think Oreos and
Yes.
every night snack. So that's why I initially came to you, is just to get some of those things under control. Little tune-up, basically.
Yeah. And how long did we work together?
I want to say we worked together for 6
Do you remember?
months.
I think so too.
6 months.
Yeah,
I started off with, just planning on working with you for 3 months, and then we just
Yes, that's right.
It was super
and you were
helpful.
Awesome. And you weren't training for anything at the time, right?
I'm usually training for something. I think last year was a little different because, we didn't have races.
Right.
But I usually try to stay in half marathon shape so that at any point I could just go out and run a half marathon. But at the time we were working together, I didn't have a specific race that I had started training for, but there were, some on the horizon.
So. Right. But you were still running, right?
Yes.
Yeah, about, I would say at least 20, 30 miles a week, or would you say more?
I want to say between 20 and 35. I think my mileage peaked because I had a marathon in November. So I want to say my mileage peaked between in the summer, July, August, and then I went down again, and then I went back up again for the marathon. So
okay. Yeah. Awesome. And through the time that we worked together, we really were more on kind of going more to eating more foods and those sort of things. So tell us your experience with that, what you learned, what you made, what you changed, that was, and what was really helpful.
Okay, I want to say the biggest help, I think, was a mindset shift. So when I think about like eating healthier, my initial thoughts were, okay, so eliminate these foods. I think elimination was the mindset. And I think with working with you and setting up goals, my mindset shifted from eliminating a food to adding in food.
Yes.
And I think with the addition of certain foods, like, for example, one of the goals that we set was to have fruits for dinner or for lunch, every day for lunch. And I kind of track that. So instead of having my, super sugary vegan cookies every day at work, I would have a bowl of grapes or, some apple slices or something. So it was adding something, and in the process of adding foods, the unhealthy foods subtracted. That's not the right way to say it, but so when I had the fruit for lunch, I didn't have the cookies for lunch. So that little habit has kind of disappeared, and I'll still have my dessert, but I'll have it, after dinner. And I still have that goal where, you know, I have my fruit. It's an ingrained habit now.
Yeah.
So I think that has been the biggest help is, you know, adding in a healthy behavior, which offsets the unhealthy behavior and the change in the mindset. So.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So really, instead of thinking about, oh, I can't have this, thinking of including what can I have, right, in order to make that change. And it sounds like just that goal setting piece of having that goal and making that behavioral change. Right now, it's a behavioral change. So now it is stuck. And it's a habit. Yeah.
Yeah. And I, you know, have fruit, you know, for lunch every single day now.
Yay.
So, yeah, it's made a difference.
Good. Yes. And good for immune system, right? Getting that vitamin C in. Yeah, we need our fruit. I know a lot of runners that stay away from fruit because it's too sweet, but fruit does have nutrients in it that are good for us. Awesome. I love that. So how did the program impact your self-image or confidence in relation to, you know, making those changes that you did and, you know, eating less sugar, eating more fruit instead? Did that affect your self-image or confidence?
I think it did. I think the specific reason was that when we started working through like when you started helping me create recipes or have like meals that I could create myself. So before we started working together, like, you know, I would just go out and I get takeout stuff from the local co-op, which, I mean, not bad food, but I was spending a ton of money and, you know, buying, they have really good food, but like buying all their tofu and the prepackaged tofu and stuff. So I think one of the big impacts that working with you had was in changing, you know, my attitude towards myself and my confidence was that I can actually make meals for myself and I can make healthy meals for myself. And that I didn't quite know that I could do. So I bought an Instant Pot and I think it was a great investment. Perfect investment. And I figured out how to, you know, even without following recipes, create meals that I could have for the entire week. So I would, you know, that's another thing that I can talk about after with the prepping meals for the week was another thing that we went over, but I would prep meals for the week and I would have, you know, a healthy, high protein, whole foods, vegan, meal already prepared. And I think just that knowledge that I'm not quite as helpless as I would like to think I am. And I don't have to always, you know, just buy the prepackaged food. I can make something and it's simple. That helped with, you know, my confidence as a, you know, somebody who can self-care.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that cooking for yourself is self-care. And you realize that you don't have to have, right, this gourmet meal. You don't have to spend every meal doesn't have to be, you know, an hour or two slaving away in the kitchen, right? We can create these healthy meals that meets our fueling needs that we can do. And, you know, really the Instant Pot, I would say probably most meals, 30 minutes or less. Would you say that's right?
Pretty much. I mean, I don't even pay attention. I like, you know, I push the button for bean/chili and, you know, don't pay attention and then come back to it.
Yeah. So easy. So easy and simple. I love that. Absolutely. Yes. And I think that really, it does affect you, right? Definitely does help you feel more confident in yourself because you're like, oh, I can create meals that are easy for myself and less expensive, which helps for sure. Awesome. Any other ways it's impacted any other areas of your life?
I think that, well, I started feeling better without the huge sugar spikes. Because I had a health, well, for the most part, sorry, cat. They'll both be up here at some point. For the most part, I started to, do the Sunday meal planning. So I'd have all of my lunches already made for the week. And I would have, a healthy kind of lentil soup or with, carrots and tofu and a lot of protein in it. So, I think that what I noticed was before I started doing this, I would have like this crash after lunch, and it was probably the sugar crash. But after so I would have to have like a cup of coffee or like super caffeinated something in the early afternoon. And what I realized was that I didn't have that crash because I was having the fruit and I was having this this healthy lunch. So that's another way that it impacted me. I didn't have the sugar crash and the kind of early afternoon, mid-afternoon slump.
Yeah.
Which was really
more energy.
Yeah, more energy, especially, when one is working.
Yes.
Some energy.
Yes. So. And you're a teacher, so you're with kids all day, which I'm sure is exhausting, right? Yeah. That's great. I mean, I think that's a really good one because I hear a lot of people struggle with that energy and they're like, oh, I just can't get through the day. I have low energy. I can't be doing something right. And you realize, oh, if I eat less sugar or eat more foods that are more nutrient dense and not more as, kind of more junk food, vegan kind of foods, right? You don't get that crash and you have more energy.
Yeah, and I mean, that was one of the original reasons why I went plant-based to begin with, aside from the animal aspect of it, was that, I had this meal, this vegan meal, my very first vegan meal, I think when I was 19, so this is years and years ago, and I left the meal and I did not feel sleepy or gross. And I remember that feeling like I had actual energy after consuming food. That feeling really changed my life in a way. It's like, wow. And I think that I started eliminating animal products really soon after that meal. So, that's one of the reasons why I went plant-based to begin with. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and we know the evidence is there. We know from personal stories, right, that it gives us more energy for sure when we eat this way. So that's so great. All right, let's see what else. How confident are you now in making those nutrition choices? It sounds like you've kept those same habits or goals that we've kind of worked on, right? It sounds like you're still doing it. Incorporating those.
Yes, things. I am. Especially in the lunchtime meals. Where it's easier at work because I pack my food. So I have certain food that I pack, and so it's much easier at work. It gets harder at home too. At night, especially when I'm tired and don't feel like doing anything. But I've kept a lot of the goals. I still have. Awesome. Remember, we set up the habit tracker.
Yes.
To track my goals, and I still have that going. So, a few of the other goals that we established were, early bedtime. Just basic lifestyle changes that. That really. What's the word? Sorry, the word is like out there someplace. They not augment, but I can't figure out the word. But they complement the food goals.
Yes.
And create kind of a well-balanced day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So those are some of the goals that I've been.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think we realize, right, that it's more than just running and nutrition, part of all that is also getting sleep.
Yeah.
Right. And I remember you doing, other things like, stretching more, making sure you get that sleep, right? All those other things. I think we worked on drinking more water, right? Being hydrated, right? All of those things are so important. And now I remember also we used, I remember you really liking the Daily Dozen app. Do you still use that app?
Yeah, I haven't used that in a while. I do need to get back to that, because the one thing I was missing day after day after day, and this is something that I would like to work on, is, getting in the greens and the cruciferous vegetables.
Yes.
I get in my berries, I get in my fruit, but those were a few of the things that were glaringly, obvious that I wasn't getting in.
Yes, right.
And I think that, seasonal change has a lot to do with it too, because in the summer I was drinking smoothies and I was getting, I was putting the spinach in the smoothies and the flaxseed in the smoothies. And, so I had this whole kind of system. And when it got cold, everything shifts and changes. I haven't had a smoothie in, that's probably
same. I noticed that too this morning. I was like, I should probably have a smoothie, but I'm like, I haven't had one in months, because when it gets cold, I just don't crave a smoothie.
Right. And then that's where you get that's where I was getting my ground flaxseed and some chia seeds and, the berries and the, and, a serving of greens. So that, now that I'm talking to you right now, I'm like, I should probably, that would just take care of all the deficiencies.
Yes. It does. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Smoothies are just a great way to pack in so much stuff. Just so easy to get it in, especially like getting in things right in the beginning of the day. So then no matter what happens the rest of your day, okay, I got my greens, I got my omega-3s in, I got my berries in. Yeah. Let's see. What else? Anything else you'd like to share? Or anything else that you learned that you didn't maybe expect to learn, or maybe even talk about how your marathon went. You were in New York City, right? Just talk about that as well.
New York is like my favorite race. I would love to just do that every year. I try to do the 9+1 program that New York has. I don't know if you've ever done that, but if you run 9 races for New York Road Runners and then volunteer for one, you get a guaranteed entry. So I did that last year. So I'm set for 2022. So I'll be running that again next year. But it went great. I made a few mistakes, and I think I made a similar mistake to one that you made at your last marathon.
Fueling.
Yeah. So because you get to New York, you get to Staten Island like hours before you go off, especially the slower people like me. So I was there for 3.5 hours before I was set to go off.
Oh, wow.
And so I had my normal breakfast, graham crackers and almond butter, and where the cat keeps doing stuff. And then I started getting nervous, and I didn't want to drink. I didn't want to drink anything because I didn't want to have to stop. And so I tried to get some more fuel in, but I ended up I think I had like a bite of a honey stinger waffle or something similar to that, like something really bland. And then the graham crackers and almond butter, and that was it. And then, so I think at mile 10, like my muscles started getting cranky, which is not what usually happens. Usually I'm like, I conk at 18 to 20 like normal, but they started getting cranky, and I think it was because I didn't have enough liquid.
Yeah.
I had, I'd done the nutrition right up until that point, but I was so nervous that I just didn't. And then I had my, my fuel during the race, but I don't think it was enough.
Good. Yeah.
So, I mean, next time I know that I have to like force something down, no matter how nervous I am.
Right. Fortunately, that's sometimes what we just have to do. And it definitely takes practice, right? Every race is, especially every race is different. So if you've never even ran, this certain marathon before, sometimes it is hard, or you just feel more nervous. If you do it the second time, you're like, okay, I know how this is going to go. I know how long I'll be waiting. And definitely takes practice to get that feeling down.
Yeah, and it wasn't my first New York either, so I kind of knew, but like, next time.
Yes, next time, right? You learn from your mistakes, and next time you'll do better. Awesome, great. Anything else you'd like to share?
I think the main thing that really helped, like I said at the beginning, was that mind shift of I can add in healthy behaviors, and just thinking adding in instead of taking away made it smoother. Like it was easier for me to stick with the healthy behaviors when I added them, as opposed to feeling neglected, like I can't have this or I can't do this. And that was super helpful. So, and it's I think just that aspect of it, and then being confident in my ability to make I'm not a teenager. It's not 48 years old. I should be able to cook for myself, but I think just that confidence and I can make something healthy for myself that actually tastes decent. I think these were all the pieces that stuck together with the accountability, checking in and having a chat, and then having you look at, look at my food and say, okay, you're a little high in this, and then kind of experimenting and seeing what works.
Making some tweaks. Yeah. Awesome. Good. I love that. Oh, awesome. Good. Thank you so much. And I'm glad you're doing so well and still working on, since we haven't been working for a couple months together, I'm so glad you're still, you're still doing those things that we talked about and still remember those things. And that's what I always wish for everyone, that I work with, that, I don't want this to be a short little, short-term thing. I want this to be, learning experience, and to continue these habits and goals and keep working on them. So I love that. So awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And
you're
welcome. Good. I'm so glad. Yes. And have a happy new year, and we will hopefully talk again soon.
Yes.
Awesome. All right. You're welcome. Bye, everyone.